The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in the podcast belong solely to the hosts and not the host's past, present, or future employers. Hello, everybody. This is Brian for Breaking Down Security. This week, Mr. Betcher, Miss Berlin, and myself sit down and have a good chin wag about the news of the week. We discuss not only just news of the week, really, but we talk about some of the things that's happened to us during the week. Miss Berlin spent some time getting ready for her RSA talk. She's trying to do a bit of rehearsal for that. RSA is such that you have to turn the slides in way in advance to kind of give them an idea as to what you're going to be talking about. But she's trying, different things, working some things out with people that she works with. Eventually, I'm hoping that we'll be able to go over her talk that she gives at RSA if she's, so amenable to that. Some of the stories I think we talk about this week, I know one in particular was social engineering that was done to InfoSec community members. Those of you who like to go to GitHub and download some proof of concept code and just run it without necessarily checking what it does may find yourself with a bit of a surprise there. So just something to think about. We actually go into a little more depth with that, but if you are one to go and download proof of concept code with just CVE numbers attached to it, thinking, well, that can help me get around a machine. If it's vulnerable to a known vulnerability, you might want to take a look at those in the future and make sure that it's not leaving anything behind when you run it. So go check that out. Also, I just got back from a business trip. First one in about 3 years, first one ever with this company I work with. And we talk a little bit about the need for, some team building or on-site activities. Even if you are fully remote, there are definitely some benefits to that. So we talk a little bit about that as well. So if you want the full hour and a half audio that we posted up in our Twitter broadcast. We're actually calling them broadcasts because we feel it sounds a bit more professional instead of Twitch streams. We're the BreakSec broadcast, if you will. You can go to twitch.tv/BreakSec, and we'll have a link in the show notes if you want that. The video on demands are for subscribers. Ideally, we're trying to give value for value. So if you are a subscriber to our Twitch stream, you'll gain access to about 130 hours of content that we've done so far, in addition to the 400 plus episodes that of audio podcasts that are freely available. If you're a Patreon supporter, just let me know. We'll send you a private link to the YouTube channel that where the video is being hosted, and we can get that to you as well. So those are the value for value that we're trying to give our supporters. The podcast will always be free, but we just want to make sure that people who have supported us, who have always been in our corner, that are donating monetarily, are getting a little something for that. If you find that you're not fiscally able to, support us there, you can leave 5-star reviews on your favorite podcast catcher, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora. We're all on all of those platforms. So that's also ways you can help us out, or just, word of mouth advertising. I know everybody's having a commute again. So your assistance is very much appreciated in getting the word out there. We also have a Discord in addition to our Slack. You can go to discord.gg/breaksec. And we have a code of conduct and moderators. Scott Pack and Director of InfoSec are a couple of our moderators over on the Discord. We have about 90 to 100 people in there right now. You can also send a DM to BreakSec on Twitter for access to our Slack, or send an email to bds.podcast@gmail.com, and we'll get you into the Slack as well. Either one is good. Either one is great for networking. So finally, you can reach me at Brian Brake, Miss Berlin at infosystir, and Mr. Betcher at Betcher Pwned. You can also check out some of the stuff Miss Berlin's doing with mental health and bringing to light mental health issues by going to Hackers Health on Twitter. And Mr. Betcher is the developer for Log-MD, so log-md.com. Go check that out. It's a nice forensic tool, and set your Windows boxes up for logging. So hope everyone has a great week. Enjoy the show. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, just reach out and let us know. All right. Have a good week. Take care of yourselves. And be safe. And so I had a lot of fun. So let me ask you something. Both of you work remote with your companies. You could go into the office, Mr. Betcher, I'm assuming. Amanda, do you have an office nearby with a bunch of your team members? Okay.
No, we closed them all.
Right. So,
the one we had.
Is your company planning on having like regular in-person events where all your team gets together and like does team building events or something like that?
Not regular. We're having one. We have a board meeting in July, and I'm actually on the employee engagement team, so I'm helping plan the events around that. So we're gonna do bowling and drinks and dinner.
Okay.
And like meet with the board, and then the day after that, I think we're gonna do a trip to Cedar Point.
Cedar Point.
Cedar Point is, yeah.
Okay. Is it anybody? So I mean, I expressed some reservations about doing the on-site thing with my own company, and after having done that, and some people have heard it on the stream, but I'm actually have completely reversed myself on that, where I think these team building events are necessary and important, but I'm still all for work from home. So, but I got a lot out of that, specifically like, hey, Digital Warhead, what's up? Yeah. Hey, how you doing? We were talking, with various teams in our org, because we have a number of different projects going on, and we found ourselves asking, hey, why aren't we working with those folks, or why aren't we leveraging that, or whatever. Just being in person and being able to walk up to people instead of trying to reach out to them on chat was a different experience. And I would highly recommend, even if you are anti-work in the office, to suggest maybe to your company, if it's been a minute since you've seen everybody in person, to maybe, make that happen. Find a nice place that doesn't have to deal with storms, like, no Dallas or Chicago or what have you, but find a place that you can get out and do some team building stuff, or get to know people. I think seeing people in 3D again, even and you can still be safe doing so. We actually had a couple of people say they got the COVID. They tested positive in our LA office, but I wore my mask almost the entire time I was in the office there, so I haven't suffered any ill effects yet. But I think it's important to have the FaceTime, even if it is only once or twice or three times a year. So any thoughts on that?
That's amazing, coming from an introvert.
I know. It was very much a conference kind of feel for me, where it's like I go, I'm pressing flash, talking to people, and then it's like about 5 p.m. I'm like, get the fuck away from me. I need to go, decompress in my room. Of course,
how many people though?
50 people.
Okay.
We had some from the UK, some from the Australia, East Coast, West Coast. We had some folks in the actual office in LA. So some of them were actually helping us, carpool to events and stuff. But we went to a couple places. We went to a place in Manhattan Beach called Joey's, which had really great food. And then we did something called Top Golf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you like it?
What's that?
How'd you
Top
like
Golf?
Yeah.
The Top Golf thing? It was fun. It was definitely not what I expected. There was for somebody that doesn't golf,
I'm always concerned. That's why I've never really gone, because I can at most stand 9 holes of putt.
Yeah.
That's it.
So you're getting there, and you're in your swing down here like this, and you've got this big ass TV up here showing you the game that you're playing. There's tons of games, we were all playing the Angry Birds one, but how you hit the ball left, right, or center determined where the bird went, and knocking down the pigs and stuff like that. There was other games you could have played as well. It's not so much distance. So, I was whacking the driver, and getting out there, and I would miss or something like that. So sometimes it was finesse. Sometimes it was doing that. So, we got some.
What is it? The NR02. I totally I was actually talking about that with my CEO today, because we found that there's sometimes that we have some cross team communication issues.
Right.
And we're a very small company. So we're just hit 50 people, and there's still a lot of people that will find a problem in a project that they're working on, and they'll just go do it. Right. And they're not set up really for success, because they're not talking to the other parts of the team that need it. So we found that instead of having, all right, we're going to meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or we're going to meet every day for a stand up or blah, blah, blah. Instead of doing that, just all right, I'm opening up this Zoom. I'm going to work on this issue, and you at blah, 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 blah.
Right.
I'm going to have this Zoom open for the next 4 hours while I work on this. And then people join, and whether they talk or not, it's kind of like being next to somebody else, because you don't necessarily have to talk during it, but you don't feel forced to schedule a meeting and make sure everyone's free, juggle all of that. You can just kind of have it open, and while they're working on something, you can be like, hey, I noticed this, what do you think about that? And I found it way, way more helpful.
You did an office hours or something, kind of just an open forum kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Super, super off the cuff. Just,
that's cool.
All right. I'm tired of talking to all these people in Slack, and it gets really super confusing with all the threads and people coming from different angles. I'm just opening up Zoom because this is ridiculous.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. And everybody communicates differently, and there were some people who did not join us on our on site either because of family issues, or there is coronavirus isn't gone, folks. No matter what the fucking media outlets tell you. We had 2 people in our group. There was a scare at B-side Seattle where we got notification that somebody had tested positive for it. I just saw it a couple hours ago on my own Slack, where they had a couple people from the LA office get it. I was wearing my mask the whole time. I was wearing my mask in the Ubers. Anytime I was within 6 feet of people, I was wearing mine. So, there were a couple days where I felt like shit, but it was probably because I was sucking hotel air conditioning. But as soon as we get done with this, I'm going to go take one of our rapid tests just to make sure. But, everybody was real positive. We had more than one person wearing their masks in the office. And the fact that some people couldn't come on site was more than good. And we tried to do our best to make sure that they were included in, some of the the meetings and stuff. So. Let me see. So Super Lolly says, if you have a nice team coming into the office once in a while, should be no issue. People will just be spiteful if they come and face their turd head boss or colleagues. Well, that's fair, Super Lolly. My problem is none of my coworkers are in the designated office area that is in Seattle for me. So I would come into an office and not talk to anybody that is in my team. So, that's why I still enjoy working from home remotely. But and Digital Warhead said, I work on critical communication infrastructure, which requires me to shut down on site. Unfortunately, my employer shut down for 3 weeks during the peak of Rona, and I was part of the skeleton crew, continued to come to work. Yeah. A lot of people did not have the ability to work remotely because of, high availability or on-call work or what have you. So I sympathize with you, Digital. Yeah.
Just the nature of the job. Yeah.
Right.
Requires.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Mr. Betcher, your company's down in what, Florida or something?
Yeah.
So y'all planning on doing some travel down there? Take the fam and It's not a far drive according to the map. It's only about this far away. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's only
just a little hop skip.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Kimmy Security, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Oh, I'd like to thank M. Wareman for following us, and of course Steamer J for subscribing with their Prime account. Appreciate that so much. Thank you for the new follows and what have you. We have some news. I mean, we were just chatting it up here, but we do have some news. We won't get to all of these. I want to start with the Security Week story about Conti ransomware. What's going on? Not bad. We were just talking about, in-person stuff versus, in-person team building events and stuff. So, good times here. So, apparently, and I don't understand how things work like this, but Conti operation has shut down because the brand became toxic.
Yeah.
Now, let that process for a second. The Conti ransomware group shuts down operations after the Conti brand has become toxic.
So explain.
Was it just like they weren't happy with our working conditions anymore?
The Conti ransomware people should union. International ransomware. Local 105.
The benefits just didn't cut it anymore. Right.
Yeah, exactly. We could not get indoor swimming pools, so we all quit. That kind of thing. I apologize for my. Apologize. The only Russian accent I know is from Bullwinkle and Rocky. So Boris Badenov, whatever. So they've been highly successful, the story says, but it appears that the downfall started in late February after Conti pledged its support for the Russian government and threatened to attack critical infrastructure of its enemies. So apparently that was a bridge too far in their manifesto. Apparently that didn't set well with some of the Conti members. And so they said the initial statement was revised and toned down, but it was too late. Expressing support for the government of Russia sparked internal debate and led to vast amounts of internal data, including chats and source code, getting leaked. I believe, listening to Risky Business, there were a number of people from Eastern Europe and Ukraine and even Russians working with Conti. So apparently maybe some of the folks from Ukraine in the Conti group didn't like that. It's almost like when you work for a company and they endorse a political party or opponent that you don't agree with, and you're like, well, I'm quitting this. So Digital Warhead says the Cyberwire just did a topic on this and said that Conti's still encrypting computers and no longer even interested in collecting ransom or providing an encryption key. Ooh. Okay. Well, that's something interesting.
Not even, maybe it just got away. Maybe it just got away from them.
Yeah, it could have been.
Right? Like if they're not collecting ransom or providing the encryption key, maybe something broke.
Yeah. Or, people are just...
Oh, destruction and pro-Russian war. Oh. Ugh.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Or that.
Yeah. They say as a result of these limitations, Conti had essentially cut itself from the main source of income, our sensitive source intelligence. Our sensitive source. Many victims were prohibited to pay ransom to Conti. Other victims and companies would not have negotiated. Who would have negotiated ransomware payments were more ready to risk financial damage not paying the ransom. Huh. They say the Conti operation was officially shut down on May 19th. Well, yeah, I guess somebody still got access to some of the infrastructure and is just, trying to burn it all down. So, it's one of those Hydra things, Conti, we used to work with a company that would come in and give us a bunch of stuff, it was called Tivoli at one time, and then they came in 6 months later and they tried to sell us a new product, which was pretty much Tivoli with a new name in it. Not saying they're the same, but what's Conti now will be, new and improved Conti in about 6 months or so, But I found it interesting how they have an image problem because, they went one bridge too far in their support of things. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I thought there was honor among thieves, but maybe not.
We've had a couple of people on the show who's talked about that. It was like, I forget who it was. Was that Amir Lakhani? I think we had on the show once. And he was like talking about some of the stuff on the dark web. And it was like, hackers or ransomware people will give up people who deal with, CSAM stuff or whatever, because those are bad guys. We're just ransomware artists. We're not bad guys. The folks peddling the CSAM stuff, they're the bad guys. We'll help you out them. And I was like, okay. It's an interesting moral compass, or how far things go in one way or the other. So
morality is a spectrum.
Everything is a spectrum these days, it seems like. Yes. Especially morality. Yeah.
I know mine is.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually I saw something on Twitter about there was a Luna or something had dropped like 99%, and somebody was saying, "Oh, don't worry, we'll get our value back. Here's a guy who's a professional hacker, and he'll help you get all of your value of your coin back and stuff." And I was like, yeah, that ship has sailed. So, let me see. Oh yeah,
ticks.
Yeah. You know what? I probably should be sharing my screen with you fine folks, shouldn't I? Oh, man. You're looking at it through the Twitch stream then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You've been sharing.
All right, cool. Okay. Mr. Betcher, if you're not doing that, twitch.tv/breaksec, you can at least see, what I'm looking at on the screen. You meant to be sharing
your screen the whole time, right?
I meant to be sharing the screen that you're seeing. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought about typing in the show notes.
Please don't. Please don't. I knew the screen was up. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let me hide my bookmarks just because that makes me feel weird. You can find out a lot about a person if they don't hide the bookmarks.
That's what I am glad I finally separated out work computer, home computer.
Oh, 100%. Work computer, personal.
So you've always been great at it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not hard.
So much.
I've gotten a little worse.
It is when at the beginning you bring your own laptop.
That's true.
Because there isn't any other ones.
That's true. I mean, I've blurred that line a little bit. I have a Discord in a web browser over here, and my Slack is on my work computer. My BreakSec Slack is in our work computer. Those are about the only things I do log into on that side. But I use for Discord, I just use the QR code scan thing, and then it automatically logs in, so there's no password or anything on it. But yeah, I don't check emails. I don't do anything on there. Chemist Security. When I stream, I always make the conscious effort to hide bookmarks because my work computer and personal computer are the same computer. Yeah. Yeah, I learned a long time ago to not do that. I think it was probably when I left the job that I was at with Mr. Betcher and realized I've got a bunch of shit from work on my work computer and doing personal stuff. I don't like to admit it, but every once in a while I go through and I clean out my Google Drive and I still find firewall rule sets and stuff from way back in that job that was on the other side. And I'm like, I probably should delete those.
I changed my mind about it when, or like really, oh my goodness. Sorry.
Wow. Please silence your cell phones now. I don't even know how many places it's
ringing. Can you hear it now or is it just me hearing it?
No, it's just you hearing it.
Okay. That's what happens when you have two laptops and a phone that all ring at the same time.
I guess some people don't know how to silence their cell phones or anything. So.
I am sorry. That's why I put the earphones in. So I put the earphones in and then I forgot. No,
it's
I had
okay.
other devices.
It's all right. I'm expecting my wife to call me. So
laptops. Yeah. So my CEO said something about they got sued or something, or they had to do some kind of discovery when he worked at Duo.
E-discovery.
Yeah. And he had it all together on one, and it was the most painful process ever. And he will never, ever, ever do that again. I'm like, oh my God.
Was it part of an investigation, or like, were they investigating something he potentially did, or was he having to investigate something?
I think that somebody else was having to do an investigation.
Yeah, I'd imagine if e-discovery casts a fairly wide net, I would imagine. So depending on the size of the company, depending on what information may be held on other devices or, cell phones or, what have you. That's another reason I don't put work shit on my phone as well. Yeah. So, that e-discovery thing will get you, or, they'll push out an MDM update that'll brick your phone or whatever. Yeah, I can't do that. And unfortunately, the iPod Touches apparently are being discontinued. So that was my go-to for like a nice, cheap work device that you could use, because then you could just tether it to your phone. So I'm going to have to like buy some piece of shit, phone from Mint Mobile or some MVNO, and just, use it without a data plan. So thank you, Digital Warhead, for the Fortinet article. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Added it to our news story notes for everybody. They can grab that and read that version as well. So I talked a little. So Miss Berlin, you might want to watch out for this one. Tesla cars, Bluetooth locks vulnerable to hackers. So,
I saw. There's, I'm in Ohio. I'm not worried.
Are you the only Tesla driver other than Dave Kennedy in Ohio?
Dave doesn't have his Tesla anymore.
What?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he sold it.
For the DeLorean, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, he has the DeLorean and he has some giant truck. But there's a guy that goes to my gym that walked up to me once and he's like, "Hey, is that your Tesla out there?" I'm like, "Yeah," but like we're talking about it a little bit. And he's like, "Oh yeah, like we were talking about like what kinds we had." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I have the Model S Plaid." I'm like, "Oh shit."
See, that's
like
him.
Subtle, very subtle, very subtle, like brag.
That's him getting his ruler out and It was very
nice, and also he has to own a dealership or be like a surgeon or something, because he also has a brand new Jeep and a Corvette, and like he's driven everything to the gym. Like that's just insane, and it's just like me and my one car.
Yeah, the Plaid S is I think it's the one with three motors on it, and it will do like 0 to 60 in like 2.5 seconds or something like that. So there's no reason to go 2.5 seconds in your car.
I just want to be friends with him so I can drive in his car.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, you could test drive the Plaid S. I guess it wouldn't be awful. Okay.
He seemed pretty cool.
Make sure you got your taser with you, when you go out. So, make sure you got your taser. So the interesting thing, and I read this was updated 5 days ago. I didn't read the part about Bluetooth locks. There are locks out there that are IoT locks, pretty much, and all you need is a Bluetooth connection, very similar to how you do with your Tesla, where if you get close to the door, it'll unlock itself because it's tied to your phone. Chemist Security, yeah, right now I do private tutoring. With the advent of too much remote tutoring, I had to turn my private computer into my tutoring computer as well. That's fair. I think there's a little bit of difference between don't want to minimize it. I mean, you're using it in a teaching format, but I mean, I have to deal with like corporate bullshit and stuff, and the last thing I want to do is to have DLP and all that stuff running on applications that I have on what is arguably a piece of shit i5. So
yeah, I refuse to put Endpoint Agent on my personal laptop.
Right.
And I mean,
right.
I feel bad for our like internal IT guy. He's the nicest guy ever. And yeah. I like took forever. I'm like, man, it's taking so long to like decouple everything.
Right.
Because like I have to move passwords around and I have to move SSH keys around and like, oh my God, bookmarks and everything.
Yep.
Like stuff in Google Drives. So painful.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that even some of my red team and security folks tend to blur those lines because, the piece of shit computers we've got don't make for good test platforms for things. So they will blur that line and, get hooked up to and of course management knows this, but our hardware refreshes in 4 years, my i5 is going to be a freaking dinosaur. So I can't even run OBS on it without being like 100% pegged CPU usage or something. So I can't make like content and stuff like I was suggesting with my boss. So it sucks. But so going back to the Bluetooth stuff, apparently these are like replay attacks, or people can use SDR to do replay attacks on these systems, these proximity authentication mechanisms, cheap off the shelf hardware. So yeah, I mean, it's going to take a couple $100, but if you're in Southern California where everybody has a Tesla or some kind of Bluetooth authentication mechanism on a car or a house or something like that, there's very good reason to believe that you could get into people's cars for that. Did you set up the pin to drive thing, Miss Berlin, on your Tesla? Because they said that was a way to mitigate it if you were worried about the Bluetooth attack stuff. It was like you get in your car, you have to type in a PIN to be able to drive your car, in addition to having your phone and or your Tesla like credit card key thing. So, so the second factor is now a password.
Maybe if I drive it, as I say, maybe if I drive it to a bigger city,
I
will. But I don't know.
At least Tesla owners don't have to worry about getting their cat stolen. Lol.
I think.
Did you mean car their digital warhead? Because my cats don't give a shit as long as you just feed them. So they're like, oh, Dad's gone. Whatever. Give me food. I love you. Now you're my favorite. So you're fickle bastards. Anyway.
Maybe that's in reference to all the cats that have died from Tesla owners.
Oh God, what?
Yeah, because they don't make any noise, and so when you back out, they're under the car, and when you crank an engine, they scatter.
I can tell you, anytime going through a parking lot, people do not move because they cannot hear where you're at.
Yep. Now the newer Teslas do have the beep 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 thing, or it'll make a buzzing noise. But my car is a 2018 and it does not have that.
Mine's a 2021 and it doesn't. Like in reverse, it sounds like a spaceship.
That's it. That's the annoying backup noisy thing. Yeah, my car doesn't do that. It's
kind of cool.
It's anything, I think, after November 2021 or something like that. There's an option to turn that on or off, but I don't have the buzzing sound thing. So, and I've had my windows open, and
It'd be funny if they could program something that took a video and said, "Attention, guy in the red shirt, step away, step away." When you're backing up,
bullhorn,
that would
bullhorn
be awesome.
on top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. So CPO Parker, thank you for coming and hanging out with us. Says, when we got my rental, the Tesla rental car was pinned to drive. I could see that as a theft mechanism or what have you. Yeah. I mean, I carry the little card and I carry my phone for login, being able to get in the car. But yeah, I mean, if somebody stole my phone or my card, they could drive away with my car. So makes sense.
But if they do a Bluetooth replay attack, that opens the car, but you still can't move it.
That's a good question. I would imagine that is an interesting question. Yeah, you could get in the car, but could you actually start it? Could you actually make it run? My thought, the way I understood this was you could run the Bluetooth attack over and over and maybe make the car think it's legit. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. And the pin to drive is like, well, okay, only the driver would actually know the pin. So, you're going to try it so many times before the car gets bricked or what have you. So, let me see, what's this? Oh, 3 elements to Kubernetes stuff. There was actually one I had read where, people are getting owned by bad software. Let me see.
You have to flash the BIOS on a Tesla if it gets bricked.
I don't know. I have been talking to some friends of mine up here for years about doing some research on Tesla, and I was like, look, I don't care what you do as long as I can drive it home at night because I'll be stuck down here, and it's a $70 Uber if I had to Uber at home. So we never actually did anything with that, but I'm still open for doing research on the older versions of Tesla. Including all sensors. I got autopilot stuff, so there have been proofs of concepts hacking the CPUs of vehicles to drive them. I don't know the makes and models or if it's been patched. I would assume that unless you've gotten the newer hardware, the new computers, they haven't been patched. So you remember that when anybody can be phished or anybody can be all you need is the right carrot. Apparently this is the carrot for some security people. So,
that's kind of funny.
Threat actor is targeting security researchers with fake exploits on GitHub, no less, that people just download and run and they get a Cobalt Strike backdoor on their system. So, yeah.
Okay, explain that. A fake exploit.
Okay, so you've got code inside of a GitHub that looks somewhat legit with a CVE number 2022-2450. Looks like some kind of remote execution, RCE in SMB, which is, like awesome game over shit for most Windows people.
So you're hacking the skiddies, right?
You're hacking the security professionals who just blindly run code and think, well, I'll just run this and see what happens, So they published the POC, fake POC, and it became apparent that these devices were fake and installed Cobalt Strike. So here's a copy of the explanation. So you run this, and you could run on a test machine. That's the problem. You run this on what is a legit VM on your system. You run this POC to do analysis, and you don't think, well, there might be a Cobalt Strike backdoor on the system. So it looks somewhat legit here. I don't know if this is fake stuff. Oh, it failed. So I'm going to run it again. Oh, it didn't work here. I'm going to run on another box. Come to find out after they have ran this, there is a PowerShell script with an encoded command hidden inside the gzip compressed payload. And then it injects the beacon into memory. So they're assuming this is Lazarus Hacking Group doing this because they have done it before, targeting vulnerability researchers, for instance. Excuse me. And in March 2021, they created a fake cybersecurity company located in Turkey, again targeting the InfoSec community. So it's important to not just blindly download the code and run it. Ms. Berlin, are you checking? Please tell me you're not checking to make sure that y'all haven't run anything like that in the last couple of weeks.
We definitely have not. We don't run just random exploits.
What?
Surprising, okay. I know. No, but this isn't hard to trigger on. Like,
yeah, I mean
that's actually part of the RSA talk is going into like when I was looking for examples for the talk, right? Like it's on Sysmon, right?
Right.
So there's threat hunting with Sysmon, and then different like use cases that you can use it for, or whatever. Okay. And one of them is like it's using like ComSpec, the environment variable, to call a command line and then pass commands to that. And like we found it like at a customer and started decoding the encoded PowerShell that it was passing. And like I was looking at other things like, the customer stuff and like, other encoded PowerShell commands that I found and other logs. And one of them is Cobalt Strike. So like you decode, but the base 64 that's in PowerShell, it turns into like, it looked like it was double encoded, but it was the second time it was encoded, it was a base 64 gzip file. Right. So then you decoded and decompressed that, and it was like Cobalt Strike, like in the code. So it's not. It happens all the time. Right.
Well, I mean, so Mr. Betcher, I think you're probably right. The skids who are like looking for some new, stuff to do, they're going to get owned pretty hard. Maybe they have enough information to know how to run this stuff, but don't actually. They're assuming that this is legit, that it wouldn't actually have, something in a back door on this, and by the time they figured it out, it was probably going to be too late. So they're injecting the beacon into memory. Does that just mean you just need to do a 4-second salute and it'll purge it from memory? Or so okay. So will it work with a reboot as well, or will it have to be a 4-second shutdown, like a hard shutdown?
It depends on if it has
persistence mechanism.
Run. Yeah, like it writes persistence somewhere in registry, startup folder, or whatever. I don't think Cobalt Strike does that because it's not that kind of, it's not meant to be for the criminals. So once you reboot, it's gone. Okay. But if you're one of those people that likes their uptime, you could be infected for quite a while. So that's right. Okay. Or you just hibernate every night. Hibernate.
Yeah, you just shut the screen. You just shut the lid on your laptop or whatever.
Yeah, there you go. Runs all night. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah. It's still doing work for you, that kind of thing. So
the boss thinks you're doing work. Your computer's still on.
Easy there.
He's checking e-discovery, I guess. Huh?
Okay. So I this is bad. So learn from these people who got owned by these things. Don't just blindly go up into a GitHub, download some code, and run it. That's really the best advice we can tell you, or just know what you're doing when you're doing this. Don't put it on a box. Don't run it on your primary machine. You could run it in a VM and then see what happens. There's better ways of doing this. Sorry. Than
the year 2000 called. They want their security training back.
Is there security training for this?
Yeah, you don't execute things that you download off the internet.
Stop clicking on shit.
Wow. Wow. So I mean, so that's got to hurt now if you're giving the same advice to people who should know better. The same stuff you would tell your sales and marketing people. Hey, don't run random shit from the internet. So
I mean, yeah, if you're doing research, you got to be careful. You got to know what's there. Yeah. Right? It's base 64 encoded.
Yeah.
Come on, decode it. See what it's actually doing. Yeah. Put it in a VM just in case. If it doesn't work, then that should raise some eyebrows.
Yeah. What I love is they actually have instructions on how to do the fake POC for you, and given the link up here, it's just like,